Amara clutched her phone with trembling fingers as she smoothed down her royal blue dress one final time. The elegant restaurant buzzed with conversation and clinking silverware, but she felt completely out of place. Her purse contained exactly $5, all that remained after sending money home to her sick mother and paying her brother's school fees. She'd found $3,000 in her employer's jacket pocket that morning while doing laundry. Without hesitation, she'd returned every penny, placing it quietly on Marcus Leon's desk. Hours later, her overtime was mysteriously cut by the house manager. The waiter approached with forced politeness, eyeing her simple dress among the designer outfits surrounding them. "Miss, we'll need a credit card to hold the table. Restaurant policy." Her cheeks burned with embarrassment. "My date said he'd handle everything. He should be here any moment." The waiter's smile tightened, clearly skeptical. Amara checked her phone again. No messages from Evan. At a corner table across the room, Marcus Leon sat reviewing business documents over dinner. The billionaire CEO rarely dined out, preferring the quiet of his penthouse. Something made him glance up, and his breath caught. There sat Amara, his quiet, hard-working maid, looking terrified and alone. He'd always admired her honesty and dedication. She worked twice as hard as anyone else, never complained, and somehow always managed to brighten his massive, cold mansion with her gentle presence. Curiosity piqued. He set aside his papers and watched as a man in a gray jacket swaggered through the entrance. This had to be her date. Marcus's instincts told him something was about to go very wrong. Evan slid into the chair across from Amara without apology, his eyes immediately scanning the expensive menu with obvious disgust. "Hope you weren't waiting long," he said dismissively, not bothering to look at her. "Just a few minutes," she replied softly, grateful he'd finally arrived. His expression darkened as he flipped through the menu. "Jesus, these prices are insane. You picked this place." Her heart sank. "You suggested it, remember?" He waved her off irritably. "Yeah, whatever." When the waiter returned, Evan's true colors emerged. "We'll need that credit card now, sir," the waiter insisted. Evan leaned back with a cruel smirk. "Ladies first." The words hit Amara like a physical blow. Her hand shook as she reached into her purse, pulling out the crumpled $5 bill. The entire restaurant seemed to hold its breath. "This is all I have," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Evan's laughter echoed through the dining room, sharp and merciless. $5? That's what you brought to a place like this?" His voice grew louder, ensuring nearby diners could hear every word. "You really should have warned me you're broke. What were you thinking? A maid's salary, and you dragged me here." The word maid dripped with contempt, and Amara felt every eye in the restaurant turn toward their table. Tears threatened to spill as she dabbed at her eyes, trying desperately to maintain some dignity. "I didn't know," she began, but Evan cut her off viciously. "Don't tell me you scrub floors for a living. Oh wait, maybe you do. A maid, right? That explains everything." His words were designed to destroy, and they found their mark perfectly. The restaurant manager approached their table with obvious irritation. "I'm sorry, but without a valid payment method, we'll need to release this table immediately." Amara's world crumbled. She stood slowly, clutching her purse against her chest like armor. "Then I'll go. I don't want to cause any trouble." Her voice cracked with each word, humiliation burning through her like fire. The other diners watched with a mixture of pity and disgust, their whispered conversations creating a symphony of shame. That's when the chair scraped across the marble floor. Every head in the restaurant turned as Marcus Leon rose from his corner table, his presence commanding immediate attention. His royal blue suit, the exact shade of Amara's dress, caught the warm lighting as he moved with purposeful grace. "That won't be necessary." His voice carried across the hushed room with quiet authority. Amara's eyes widened in horror as she recognized her employer. This was her worst nightmare, being seen at her most vulnerable moment by the man who already held her livelihood in his hands. "Sir," she began, her voice breaking, but Marcus's steady gaze silenced her protests. His expression remained calm but unmistakably powerful. Evan recovered from his shock with typical arrogance. "Oh, so you know her. That explains a lot. I figure she works for you." His smirk widened as he sensed an opportunity for more cruelty. "You're really going to save your maid in front of everyone? How noble of you." The word maid again, weaponized and sharp. But this time, Marcus was there to deflect the blow. The atmosphere shifted as the billionaire stepped closer, his presence filling the space between them like an impenetrable wall. Marcus moved forward with controlled precision, his voice cutting through the tension like a blade. "She's not just a maid. She's Amara, and she is my guest tonight." The simple correction carried the weight of absolute authority. The restaurant manager immediately recognized the power dynamics at play and began reaching for his finest smile. "Sir, our policy requires—" The manager started nervously. Marcus produced his black credit card with fluid motion. "Place any hold you need on this, and then apologize to her. She's the one who deserves it." The manager's face paled as he processed the name on the card, Marcus Leon, the billionaire whose company owned half the city's skyline. "Miss, I sincerely apologize. I should never have spoken to you that way." Amara looked down, her voice barely a whisper. "It's fine." But Marcus wasn't finished. "No, it's not fine. You don't apologize for being humiliated. They apologize for humiliating you." His words rang with finality, and the watching diners began to understand they were witnessing something extraordinary. Evan, still oblivious to the magnitude of his mistake, doubled down on his cruelty. "Wow, you're really grandstanding over this. She's broke, man. Look at her. She came with $5. $5. And you're going to pretend she belongs here." His laughter grated against the stunned silence. Marcus's expression hardened. "You want to talk about money? Let's talk about integrity." He stepped closer, his voice sharp enough to cut glass. "This afternoon, she found $3,000 in my jacket. Cash, no record, no witnesses. She could have kept it and no one would have known." The restaurant fell completely silent. "Do you know what she did? She returned every penny without taking a cent. That's who she is. That's worth more than every cheap insult you've thrown tonight." Amara's tears flowed freely now, but they were no longer tears of shame. Marcus continued his defense with unwavering intensity. "And you tried to reduce her to $5. His voice carried across the silent restaurant like a judge delivering a verdict. The other diners watched in fascination as the billionaire systematically dismantled Evan's cruelty with simple truth. Evan's bravado finally cracked. "Come on, she's obviously playing you," he stammered, but his phone on the table caught Marcus's attention, its red recording light still glowing. "Delete the recording," Marcus commanded, his tone leaving no room for argument. Security appeared as if summoned by magic, their presence making Evan's situation crystal clear. Under their intimidating stare, he fumbled with his phone until the light disappeared. "Enjoy your charity project," Evan spat as he gathered his things, his face flushed with defeat and rage. "She's all yours." He stormed out, leaving behind a restaurant full of witnesses to his spectacular downfall. The collective exhale that followed was audible, as if the entire room had been holding its breath. Marcus turned back to Amara, his voice gentle now. "Sit." Her body still trembled with residual shock. "Everyone's staring," she whispered. "Let them," he replied firmly. "They're not staring at shame anymore. They're staring at what respect looks like." As she settled back into her chair, the waiter approached with newfound reverence. The next morning brought life-changing news. Marcus restored her overtime with back pay and enrolled her in evening classes for hospitality management. Because no one who shows that kind of honesty should ever have to walk into a restaurant and be humiliated for $5, he explained. When she promised to repay him, he shook his head. "This isn't debt. It's justice, and it's yours." That day, Amara learned that true wealth isn't measured in dollars. It's measured in the courage to stand up for what's right.